Welcome to the kit room. James here as usual. Neil's with me as well.
As usual, good to be back.
Yeah, good to be back. Today we're going to review the Chelsea game. So let's get to it. So Neil, lunchtime kickoff on a Saturday to all. What were your views on it?
Yeah, slightly disorientated by that one. I still feel like it's much later at night. Overall, I think it was a fair result for a fair played game. They dominated the first half. We dominated the second half. Overall, it was a draw. Both of the teams didn't take their chances as much as they should have done, and both. I think this is we both are playing young, inexperienced teams, and this is just what's going to happen at times. We're going to miss our chances, and we're going to have to improve on this. And we're both going to go forward from this year into next year a much stronger side. What about your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think neutral point of view, it was a good end-to-end game. Like you said, first half, Chelsea were all over us at times. Hudson-Odoi should have probably scored two. A more experienced player may well have hit the target or scored. But these chances come and go. And then the second half, we just came into our own. So I presume they all got a good bollocking at half time. Came back. Bit of slow start of the second half. I think we were a bit asleep on the corner. Was a good header, but no one seemed to be anywhere near him. So them kind of chances people like Rudiger are going to take because it's just a header. But overall, I think we played okay. Evans, I thought, was outstanding at the back. His positioning, he knew where the ball was going to be. Headers, blocks. He just seemed to be like the Evans we had last season. He knew what to do and where to go. But overall, I thought it was a good performance. Any highlights for you?
Highlights, potentially some of the play that we did at times. So there wasn't too many like big show-stopping moments or anything. To be fair, neither goalkeeper had too many amazing saves to really do. So it was more in the middle of the park. It was, especially in the second half, it was a good quality, high-intensity game, which is brilliant. But not really many highlights, to be honest. Does that sound really bad? But it's just I don't think there's any. What about you? Any highlights?
No, I thought Barnes played well. He does some great things and he does some things that I would call inexperience. Like some of his shots are all over the place. So his decision making at times probably a bit off, but that's probably experience and that'll come with time. Um, but I think that's probably the only highlight. Probably a bit concerned and did he got injured in the warm up? Did we bring him back too early? I don't know what your views are on that.
Yeah, I think that's what's happened. And another, just he was, I think you were saying just off camera that he was training, everything was going okay, and then all of a sudden it just goes to crap. And he's not in the team. So it was really weird looking at Sky Sports had one, BBC had another, and then Leicester City had another. And we're just like, oh, well, which one is it? Is it Hamza or Ndidi? And coming into it, seeing that Chowdhury was playing in place of Ndidi was not too bad. I think he had a great game, and what I've realised now is he's started to mature as a player. At the beginning of the season, he'd rush into challenges, legs flying everywhere, taking people out like bowling balls, and
Yeah,
be very aggressive in his face. I think now he's learned to kind of, okay, sit back. Now is the right time to go and to move. And he's
yeah,
obviously been working with Kolo Torre and Ndidi and the other players, defensive
yeah,
players around the team. I liked it at times where he'd drop into the middle and let the other two wingers go, and he's not trying to chase down everything. I think potentially there's a problem we'll talk about a couple of weeks back with Barnes, where he's trying to do too much and he's trying to be okay. I need to be everywhere at every point, and he's just slowed down the game, enjoyed it again against Jorginho and Kante and Kovacic. Them three midfield are some of the best in the world. So he held his own against them. With that midfield, we would expect to get completely bossed, but we didn't, and partly it's down to him. And it was, I think, yeah, a really good performance. But back to Ndidi. I just don't think he's back to match fitness, and the same thing could be said with Vardy as well. So both suffered the same thing. We're trying to bring him back too early, and it just kind of backfired. I think Vardy wasn't on as much as he had been. Like for example, the even his one on one, he has one on one every game pretty much that he plays. He had one Caballero and just it was a good save, but he should have done better. He should have really put it into either corner or towards either post. But again, overall, we've got a couple of weeks off now. Rest everybody, chill out, time to relax, and then we go again in a couple of weeks' time.
yep, totally agree. So let's have a look at the stats of the game. So looking at the stats, obviously to all draw, we had 14 shots to their 7. Of the 14, we had 4 on target, whereas Chelsea had 3 on target. Obviously, that's a 50% conversion rate for us and 66% for them. Possession equal 50% each. Pass completion 78% each, and pretty even on corners, 4 against 6. So what do you think of them stats, Neil?
I think
Represents
it's
the game.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly the point. The only thing that you were going to mention, it's just funny how the pass percentage and the complete pass completion rate were the same. A lot of the time at the beginning of the game, people were losing it in areas and making sloppy passes for both teams. And we kind of fixed that in the second half, which is good. And I think part of that could be down to tiredness, but we've not seen. But even then, if I would have guessed a pass completion rate, it probably would have been low 70s. To see it 78 is actually quite good. It just shows you that second half we really turned it on. For both teams as well. But overall, you can see the stats are pretty much similar. The only thing I was going to throw back to you, it was the what's it called, from 7-3 and 14-4, so the conversion rate. So I think you have a couple of things to say on that.
Yeah, so what's that? 4 out of 14, it's less than 25% on target. That's pretty poor. We're creating obviously around 14 chances and only getting 4 on target. You'd want him to be work their goalkeeper a lot more than that, whereas they only had 7 shots and 3 of them on target. So they're getting the chances and the gilt edge chances and they're putting them away. And I think that's been the difference the last few weeks for me, is we've had lots of shots, not many on target, but the opposition is converting a lot of their chances. And I think that's probably where I've been disappointed the last few weeks, is we're getting the chances, but we're just not converting them. Saw a stat that Vardy's not scored in 7 games. And that's probably been his driest run for the last few seasons. But again, I didn't think he looked fit. Generally, when you see him play, you'll see him run diagonally and take 2 defenders with him. He didn't really do that much this game. So he doesn't seem to be taking the defenders with him, which is a great thing to do, because then it leaves space for Barnes, Perez, Maddison to run into. And that works really well. So I think maybe he's just coming back from his injury. He obviously won't be as sharp as he was before, but that sharpness should come back with time. But also, he has had quite a long season for his age. So that's probably why his runs are not as much as they used to be.
And it has been a busy, since December, it's been full on. So a well-needed rest will be definitely appreciated by the team and everybody. I think now with that, he still played that at times. Like today, he didn't get a lot of the ball, which he's not been getting a lot all season. But with the run, for example, against the Barnes, when Barnes nearly put it away, he took the 2 defenders with him. He's still got it in him. He still knows that this is going to be a really good. He's going to be our main talisman, and that he's going to be able to. His bread and butter is still there. So look at the stats again. It's brilliant. We missed 2 sitters in the same way that they missed a few sitters in the beginning, and it should have been. I remember you saying after like 15 minutes, it should have been 2-0 to them.
Yeah.
And we were hanging on quite rapidly. But again, they were not converting these chances. They weren't testing Schmeichel, so it wasn't exactly. So they probably didn't go on this board as much as they should. For example, if the ball doesn't go between Abraham's legs, or I think it was Hudson-Odoi's legs as well, that's not counted as opportunity. But technically, on the stats, that should have been. So I'd say overall they had the same amount of chances as us. Yeah. So it's just, and also I think this is what you get from playing a young team. So we're going to have to give them experience. And something that I would like to mention as well, I think Barnes has scored in his last 4 games now, 3 games. And this is the kind of running we were looking for. At times when Chilwell was hanging back and wasn't providing enough width, Barnes was taking on the whole world. And you know what? He was working a lot of the time. It really was. It just shows you how important for a player like him confidence is. And a lot of the team are. I think players to mention in particular, I think Perez had a really, really good game. I think that's probably the best game I've ever seen him. Because the issue is he's always scored against lower opposition. You look at West Ham, you look at Southampton. That's where his goals have been. And that's where he seems to go missing in big games. This is the first game I've seen him against a top 6 side, or a really competitive side, where he's shown he's worth his money. Yes, he didn't do anything that's going to get on Match of the Day, but it was the little balls back, his link up with Ricardo, his little through balls to Vardy, and it was really, really good play. you could see him saying, okay, this is why we need him. He's not an out and out winger, but that's why you've got Ricardo in the team to kind of bomb down the wing, and then he's playing as a kind of an inverted winger. So I think he did really well. I think, as you were saying, Johnny Evans did a really good game as well. Ricardo was actually quite quiet. I think that was partly down to Chelsea's tactics, because he tried to run into space, but there just wasn't any, and they just crowded him out. But overall, yeah, I think they were the few performances me that really stood out. What about you?
Yeah, definitely Evans' positioning, as we spoke about, was outstanding. Ricardo, yeah, he was trying to bomb down the wing, but they've got the kind of midfield that will stop that, and saw that come in. Barnes, I thought, played really well. Lots of time, lots of maturity. I thought he played well. Tielemans just looks tired. Every single time I've seen him over the last 6 weeks, he just looks tired. Now, for a professional footballer, surely he shouldn't be like that. Maybe he's been played out of position. Maybe he's been asked to run a bit more. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look good, because after about 60 minutes, he looks dead on his feet.
You see, I think that's but again, that's been an issue since we first had him. This is nothing new at the moment. I think that's just how he is as a player. And bearing in mind, he has played quite a few games as well. He's not played all the games like some players, but he's played quite a few of them. But again, even when he's that tired, today he got 2 assists. And he played some of the balls he was playing. I was like, this is justified his 40 million price tag. A lot of the matches he's been lost, and like, for example, Maddison did okay today. Didn't do badly, but Tielemans was a person that stepped up, and some of the balls he did was just phenomenal through to Barnes. And it was the range of passing that he did, which I thought was really, really good. So again, yes, he's tired, but that's why we've signed Dennis Pratt. That's why we've signed other players to come in and play in that position if necessary. And they're living up to their hype as well. So they're not quite on the level of Tielemans, but they're still, I think, pretty good. But overall, yeah, Tielemans, I think, did a pretty good job. Look at Barnes, yeah, great. Vardy, we've mentioned before. But overall, I think we did it. The result was fair. Both teams really wanted this position. But I think a draw was the right result to try and cement us in the top 4. Now, we've still got everybody else to play. As we're recording this, we don't know the scores. So I think we should be fine for top Champions League. So that's why I'm wearing my Champions League badges. Very nice, very nice. We'll be back in there next year, hopefully. But a draw was the right result to kind of secure a place. I think both teams would have liked to win, but it wasn't to be. But I think overall, come on, Champions League, we're here. We're coming for you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Champions League I don't think we've got the squad currently for the Champions League. We need to sort that out in the summer. I thought we'd get a few more people in January, even if it's just on loan to give players some kind of competition. But that didn't happen. So I think in the summer we'll see quite a few players coming in, and I think quite a few going out, because he will be building that Champions League squad. I know every Leicester fan's expectant of Champions League, but as a player, you wouldn't come to Leicester in January because they might get Champions League. Whereas if you cement it in the summer, players will want to come because you have got Champions League. And I think that'll be a big kind of grasp for people to come. So I think in the summer we'll see lots of ins, lots of outs, and he'll start building that squad. So he'll probably want cover in every single area and competition in every single area. So players are not walking on the pitch saying, it doesn't matter how I play, I'll get picked. That competition will be there, and I think the Champions League will be good. If we finish 3rd or 4th, gives us a low seeding, and we'll have to go through the qualifiers. But if we get that group stage, bring on Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Yeah, that'll be really good. I think this is actually the most competitive I've seen the squad, I think, since we joined the Premier League. So we are getting there, and I like that they're building slowly, not just throwing all this money in. But to play devil advocate, we've been trying to get rid of some of the deadwood from the squad for about 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the likes of Slimani, who's somehow Manchester United were linked to everybody yesterday. When it came to, they were throwing everything at any striker that has any kind of European experience, or anybody that used to be in the Premier League. So that was a bit strange to see overall. Our performances, it was probably our signing. Sorry, it was probably about retaining players than it was about signing any new ones for exactly the reason that you said. So I just want to ask you, what do you think about? Is it Ryan Bennett? Ryan Bennett from Wolves. What do you think of his? Do you think he'll come in and do a job, or do you think he's the kind of sensible signing we're going to need to see us out to the end of the year?
I think it's a sensible signing to see us out. I think over the last few months, Evans and Cags has been doing everything. So Rodgers is probably thinking if one of them gets injured, he probably needs someone that can come in and do okay. Bennett last season, probably better stats than Evans overall. He had a great season for Wolves. Only played 11 times this season, not really getting in the team as much. So I think as cover, he's a great buy. He's also played in a back three before. So if you ever wanted to go in the second half to a back three, he'd be perfect to come in and slot into that position. So I think it was a great buy, in my opinion, on loan. And I think everyone's going, well, he's reserved for Wolves. Why are we buying people like that? Because we need a squad. We haven't got a squad at the minute. Yes, we've got 11 great players, but nothing behind that. And they're going to start burning out, getting tired, as we've seen. Even injuries. Vardy's been injured, and Diddy's injured again. You need cover for all places next season, because it's not just the Champions League next season; it's the league as well. If you're going in the Champions League, you want to do what Chelsea's and Liverpool's do, and it's the aim for top four, rather than do well in the Champions League and end up mid-table. Which I think we can do both, but you need the squad to do that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Ryan Bennett was the right signing at the right. I won't say at the right time. It was a bit too late for me because for example, we could have got Benkovic on loan. And he said Beniophobia then. Benkovic on loan earlier, so that we could have had more time, so that Bennett could have been in the squad for today and could have been well trained. And for example, you look at the 91st minute, we've had Morgan on it with Morgan injury, and then Evan goes down. You're thinking, oh no, we've got nobody to cover in that position at all.
I think Bennett is currently injured though.
Is he?
Yeah, so that's why he wasn't in the squad today.
Okay.
I think he may be available for Man City, but I'm not sure. So yeah, I think it'll be a good player, and he's also a good reserve to have. So if things are not going right, you want to go to a back three and use Ricardo and Chilwell as proper wing backs. That he's the kind of person you could bring in and do that. And seeing him for Wolves last season, he does look quite quick as well. Yes, he's 29 years old, but he's got that experience like Evans got of how to defend. And he's a no-nonsense defender, wears black boots, doesn't take any crap. Probably the kind of defender you'd need.
Yeah, and exactly that. And it's the kind of signing that makes sense. As you were saying, it's a sensible option. We're not doing anything fancy, and it was mainly just keep hold of the players that we have. But overall, yeah, I'm happy with this transfer window. Hopefully in the summer we'll be able to turn over a few players, get some. I think a few players are out of contract by the end of the year as well. Some players will want to go as well. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens. But again, with this result, it helps us just build towards that Champions League. We've taken a point off somebody that's going to be in the top four as well. We're in a decent position with a decent squad, and yeah, roll on to the next week. Weekend after. I think the players will really enjoy this week off because it's been an emotional week. We're all absolutely gutted by Tuesday's performance, and then today with an early kickoff, it probably came too soon. But again, we've got a couple of weeks off. Enjoy that. Take your time out, and just relax. Then we come back ready to secure that Champions League spot, and you never know, could do well in the FA Cup as well.
Yep. So we're back in 2 weeks because obviously next week is the break, the 2-week winter break as they were calling it. So we're back in 2 weeks. You're back in 2 weeks as well, Neil?
I'll be back if you're back.
Righto. I shall talk to you then.
Brilliant. See you later.
Thanks. Bye.